Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is a re-record of last night's Bible study. It was in the book of Ruth, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. Listen to the music. I do not own the copyrights to this music. All right, everybody. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing this afternoon? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. So we're going to get ready to jump right into the Bible study concept. Just give me a few minutes, everybody. Go ahead and exit that there and come back. Take this off and get ready to share the Bible study subject for this evening on Time Ministry, which will be uploaded to YouTube, everybody. Hope all is well with everyone today. This is a recapture, and I just felt like I needed to redo this, unfortunately. So I'll move my screen right here. So this is the topic that was talked about Wednesday night for Bible study at 7 p.m. It basically talks about life challenges. So we're going to be in the book of Ruth Chapter 1 and 2. We're going to go through it each scenario, and then it's going to talk about it. And I'm going to actually switch my version to the New Living Translation version so everyone can kind of understand what it means. Give me a few minutes if I can find it. Hold on, everybody. Give me a second. All right, there we go. So it's a little bit darker and it's more understandable. You have different versions: King James, New International, and New Living Translations. I like all three, but in scenario, we're going to be on New Living Translation for this series. So we're going to go ahead and read it. We're going to kind of dive in about it. So I'm going to give you a background history of this particular chapter. So basically what happened was, let's just read the story. In the days when the judge ruled in Israel, a severe famine came up the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab, taking his wife and his 2 sons with him. The man's name was Econ, and his wife was Naomi. Their 2 sons were Mahlon and Chalion. They were Ephraimites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And when they were reached Mahlon, they settled there. Then Ephraim died, and Naomi was left with her 2 sons. The 2 sons married Moabite women. One married a woman named Oprah and the other woman named Ruth. But about 10 years later, both Mahlon and Chalion died. This left Naomi alone without her 2 sons or husband. We're going to start right here. The story starts off with a husband, a wife, and 2 sons. In the first part, it talks about the husband dying, and then years later, the son dying. This is life challenging right here in the beginning of Ruth Chapter 1, how she had to grieve not once, but 3 times. First, she lost her husband. Then she lost her 2 sons. And now it's just her and her 2 daughter-in-laws. Naomi and Ruth returned. Then Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving them good crops again. So Naomi and her daughter-in-laws got ready to leave Moab to return her homeland with her 2 daughter-in-laws. She set out from the place where she had been living, and they took the road that would lead them back to Judah. But on the way, Naomi said to her 2 daughter-in-laws, "Go back to your mother's home, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me." So what Naomi did, we're going to go back. What happened was the 2 daughter-in-laws were following Naomi, and all of a sudden, Naomi was led to tell the 2 daughters to go back to their mothers because of their kindness of their husband and herself. So basically, she was sending them along the way to go back to their mother's homes so she can venture on. And what she says, "May the Lord bless you with security of another marriage." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they all broke down and wept. So she basically departed from them. "No," they said, "we want to go with you to your people." But Naomi replied, "Why should you go on with me? Can I give birth to other sons who could grow up to be your husbands?" No, my daughters, return to your parents' home, for I am too old to marry again. So what is talked about here is the two daughter-in-laws have gotten so attached to their mother-in-law because of the sons that they were married to, which was their mother, her sons. Naomi was the sons that have passed away, and the daughter-in-laws have gotten very attached to them. So they don't want to leave Naomi by herself, but she kept telling them to go on. And as she go on, she explained to them like, hey, listen, I am too old to remarry and birth two more sons. Okay. So let's continue. Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not, my daughters. Things are far more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord himself has raised his fist against me. So what Naomi is saying to her two daughter-in-laws, that she feels that God is angry with her, that God wants her to do better. And what she's telling them is to basically go back to their parents' home and let her be. And again, they weep together. Oprah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clinged tight to Naomi. Look, Naomi, she said to her, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same. So basically, Ruth said her goodbyes and moved on. But with Oprah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye and went back to her people, to her gods. But Naomi was clinging on tight, and Naomi had to explain to her to say, hey, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. And she's basically telling Ruth, you need to do the same. Okay? Think about it. But Ruth replied, don't ask me to leave and turn back wherever you go. I will go wherever you live. I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. So the two So now I'm gonna return. So the two, where am I at? Where am I at, everybody? Sorry. The thing scrolled. Go with her, she said nothing. So the two of them continue on their journey. When they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited by their arrival. Is it really Naomi? The women asked. Don't call me Naomi, she responded. Instead, call me Meryl. For the Almighty has made life very bitter for me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me home empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has caused me to suffer? And the Almighty has sent such tragedy upon me. So Naomi returned from Malad, accommodating by her daughter-in-law Ruth. The young man might have been women. They arrived in Bethlehem in late spring at the beginning of the barley harvest. So what just happened in Ruth chapter 1? It started off with the husband. We're going to go back, named Ethan, and they had two sons. And all of a sudden, everything started to spiral out of control in the first part of the scripture. Ephraim and his wife Naomi, their two sons were born. There was Ephraim from Bethlehem in the land of Judah, and they reached Malad and they settled here. Then Ethan died, and Naomi was left with two of her sons. The two sons married women. One married a woman named Orpah, and the other married Ruth. But after 10 years later, her sons died. So this all happened in a back-to-back time frame. So the life challenges that she was facing, she faced grief 3 times. First, she lost her husband. Years later, she lost her 2 sons, and she was left with her daughters-in-law. And what Naomi felt in her life, that God was angry with her, God was punishing her, God was doing all of these things to her, and all of this stuff was just pouring down on her, that she didn't feel like she had nothing left to give. Her faith was shaken. Her belief was intact. She was just bitter and very angry about everything. So she was pushing people away. But there was one person in this particular chapter that wasn't leaving. Oprah went back to her peoples and whatnot, but Ruth was very determined to stay with Naomi because Ruth was very determined to stay with Naomi because apparently deep down inside, she felt that Naomi needed somebody to have her interest at heart. So how many of you have Naomi's or are Naomi's and went through these life challenges? Have you lost a spouse or daughters or sons, or have you lost a great different significance in your life and you just feel empty and bitter in your life right here at this very moment, hour, and second? This is a story to kind of give you an understanding of what's really going on here. So we're going to move on to chapter 2 of Ruth. Okay. Ruth worked in Boaz's field. So this is a very fascinating story. Okay. Now there was a wealthy, influenced man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Ephraim. One day, Ruth, the Moabite, said to Naomi, "Let me go out into the harvest field to pick up a stack of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it." Naomi replied, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvest. And as it happened, she found herself working in a field that belongs to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Ephraim. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvest. "The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you." The harvest replied. Then Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is the young lady over there? Who does she belong to?" And the foreman replied, "She is the young lady from Malvern who came back with Naomi. She asked me this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvest. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes rest in the shelter." Bowsen went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay. Where am I at? Stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to another field. Stay right behind the young women working in my field. She which part of the field they are harvesting and following them. I have warned the young man not to treat you roughly. And when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drained from the well." Ruth fell at his feet, thanking him warmly. "What have I done to deserve such kindness?" she asked. "I am only a foreigner." So what happened in this particular scripture in Ruth chapter 12, and I read verses 1 through 10, it talks about how Ruth went in and the relative of Naomi's late husband, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Ephraim. She ended up going inside of a harvest field to pick all the grains up. And this guy, Boozin, basically brought compassion and love towards her. He had a very humbling and amazing spirit. Keep in mind that Ruth and Naomi had hard times. They were grieving. And by her being introduced to Boozin, that gave her a clear understanding. There is hope in life challenges. There is joy in life challenges, and it's definitely great fulfillment and blessings in life challenges. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. "Yes, I know," Boaz replied, "but I also know about everything you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I've heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done." So what Boozin is saying to Ruth is she sacrificed. She could have went back to her mom and daddy and to her own life, but she made a choice to stay with Naomi after losing her husband and after Naomi losing her son, to be there with her mother-in-law through the sacrifices, through the pain, through the hurt. She did a great deal, and she's being rewarded for her kindness of action. See, in life challenges, everybody, we may not see it at the time, but sometimes we step out of our comfort zone or being pushed into an uncomfortable position where we say, "Hey, we're going to stick this out. We're going to do everything we need to do in terms of fixing the problem." And I'm not talking about trying to do it on your own, but fixing it in terms of making it work for that season in your life. And just kind of taking notice of, hey, I may be struggling, I may be suffering now, but these life challenges that I'm facing right now is going to have a great reward at the long run. Let's continue, everybody. "I hope I continue to please you, sir," she replied. "You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not one of your workers." At mealtime, Boozin called to her, "Come over here and help yourself to some food. You can dip your bread in the sour wine." So she sat with her harvesters, and Boozy gave her some roasted grain to eat. She ate all she wanted and still had some left over. When Ruth went back to work again, Boozy ordered this young man, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaf without stopping her, and pull out some head of barley from the bulks and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up and don't give her a hard time." So basically, Boozy gave these gentlemen an order to bless this young lady, to give her the grain, to accidentally drop stuff on purpose so that she can pick it up and be provided. See, when you do good deeds and things in your life, they come back to you. And Ruth is seeing it right there before her very eyes. So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that even it filled an entire basket. She carried it back in town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the roasted grain that was left over from her meal. "Where did you gather all this grain today?" Naomi asked. "Where did you work? May the Lord bless the one who helped you." So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in the whole field she had worked. She said, "The man I worked with today is named Moses. May the Lord bless him." Naomi told her daughter-in-laws, "He is showing his kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. That man is one of the closest relatives, one of our family redeemers." Then Ruth said, "What more? Mazu even told me to come back and stay with his harvests until the entire harvest is complete." So the great reward that Ruth did for her mother-in-law in terms of making sacrifices, making changes, maneuvering, and being determined, this is her great reward for doing a good deed. She ended up coming home with a big basket full of grain to take home, and plus she had extra left over. So what I want to tell you today about life challenges, you may be struggling and feeling a lot of different things right now at this very moment, but I'm telling you, once you go through these obstacles and turmoils in your life and making great deal of sacrifices to be there for people or in general for family and loved ones, there's a great reward in store for you. It is. So this is the Bible study for Wednesday night, which will be uploaded on Time Ministry, the True Salt to 1000, and and YouTube. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right, everybody, we're gonna resume normal broadcasting next Wednesday at 7 p.m. We're gonna continue with the series Life Challenges. It'll be the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Time Ministry, True Salt to 1000, and the YouTube channel. So I love you all. Have an amazing and a blessed day. Take care, everybody.